Are you really being radically transparent in your coaching business? Not just the surface level stuff, but the kind of transparency that earns real trust. Because here's the truth, trust isn't handed out anymore. You've got to earn it. And that means being open, honest, and tackling the tough questions head on, even when it feels uncomfortable. That's why I'm so excited to introduce Mark Reynolds. Mark doesn't just talk about radical transparency. He shows coaches and business owners like us how to use it on our websites to build trust, attract better leads, and make selling easier. I've seen Mark in action, and let me tell you, he's the real deal. No fluff, no gimmicks, just practical, honest guidance that delivers results. Oh, and here's a twist you might not know. I'm not even real. I'm Angela's AI digital twin, created by none other than Mark himself. So, get ready. Please give a big welcome to the brilliant Mark Reynolds. Mark Reynolds, the last time I was in Birmingham with you, we were in a curry house in Solihull, just before Christmas this was. And the time before that, when I was in Birmingham with you, we were making AI Angela. And you might think, well, in that introduction, I was talking about radical transparency, and there's a deep fake version of Angela Cox. So, Mark, what is this all about?
Yeah, it's a good point. A lot of the work I do is about being authentic and transparent and real human connection. It's a bit ironic. There's a lot of businesses out there that don't humanize themselves enough. You might go to a website of, let's say, a solo coach, and you look at it and there aren't many photos, there aren't many videos, there's not a lot going on to really help you stand out. And as we'll hear in a minute, humanizing your business is a great way to stand out. But this AI, I mean, I love playing with technology like this. And the first time I came across it, first time I did it, I thought, wow, that is just outstanding. But at the moment, I'm just using this with clients at the top of these articles, which you're going to hear more about in a minute. But these articles that really radically and passionately educate your buyers. These videos appear at the top to just give a summary of the article. So just like 3 to 5 minute long video. And it just gives a lot of people don't necessarily like to read long articles. So it just gives people a different way to consume that information. But you still want those authentic videos on the rest of the website where they're real. AI is not quite there yet. The lip syncing is actually much better than that normally. So it's a bit of a technical thing here, but normally it's spot on, but it's an amazing place to be. And this book that we're going to be talking about in a minute, by this book, They Ask You Answer by Marcus Sheridan. This is just a fantastic book that I absolutely love. And in there's something he has called the Selling Seven. We're not going to talk much about it today, but that's where the authentic part of videos, it's a whole framework to create authentic videos where they can actually like resonate, which AI maybe can't resonate. And Mark Varney, who is actually the media partner today, his speciality on the video side of it is the Selling Seven and helping that authentic nature that might not be the kind of AI world. But yeah, They Ask You Answer is an amazing book, and the AI bit is just an element of it, but not a huge element.
I think if we're transparent about the fact that it is a digital twin as opposed to the real person, then it makes it okay and actually makes that article accessible. But let's talk about the book a little bit more, because this is where the journey of building these transparent articles and building trust comes from. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I absolutely love this book, and I fell in love with it in about 2019. So the book was published first by a guy called Marcus Sheridan, which we'll get onto. That was in 2017, and then I came across it in 2019. And then the new version, the new edition, the third edition is coming out this year. So it's going to bring it smang back up to date. But a lot of the underlying principles are still the same. So don't procrastinate. At the end of this talk, hopefully, go out and buy it, go and read it if you haven't already, and you'll learn a lot. But this is about radical transparency, communicating with your buyers on your website, away from your website, across the internet, but communicating in a way that is different from others and doing it passionately. And it's a whole mindset. So this is more than a book. It's a framework. It's a sales and marketing framework, but it's a philosophy and methodology. If you can really live and breathe this stuff, then not only will it help to build trust. I mean, that's the main focus, is becoming the number one trusted authority in your space, which is really aligned with what Bev was saying, which is fantastic. So it helps to, you use all this content in a section of your website called a knowledge center. And that's what I help people do. I help people create this knowledge center, which collates all this content on your website, which is what I've done for Angela as well. We've worked on that together. And throughout the buyer's journey, basically, or especially near the end, it earns trust like never before. So I'll quickly touch on Marcus's story, really, because that's really important to what we're talking about.
Well, before you do that,
Yeah,
can
go
we
for it.
just talk about the fact that you've got a giant life-size cutout
Yes.
of you and Marcus? Has anybody seen that in the coffee area? There's a love affair going on here, and I can understand why,
Yeah.
because I have seen Marcus speak twice, and he is amazing. But tell us about your relationship with him and what's going on there.
Yeah, what is going on there? But yeah, what a beautiful picture. I've got it on a poster on my bedroom wall as well. No, I was joking. I don't really. But yeah, when I came across him in 2019, I've been doing websites. I've been building websites since about 1999, and professionally since 2001, and then promoting them in the world of Google, SEO, search engine optimization since 2002. And this is very much linked in with his world. So in about 2013, I built a knowledge center section on a website for a bifold door and sliding door company. And these questions that buyers are asking, we put all of those questions and articles that are transparently and with radical transparency, educating these buyers. And we put those on their knowledge center, and it was a huge success. So one of the articles was number one across the whole country for best bifold doors. And when the company came to being sold in 2019, the new MD wanted to work with me because they had seen that this knowledge center had created about £500,000 in revenue per year. And there have been a lot of success stories since. There's another, we know this person called Phil Barlow's Blinds. And he was telling me the other day, just one article that he created answering one of his buyers' questions, brought them in through Google, and that one article generated £1 million in revenue. And if you think about it, these are just slides and shutters. So, that was just through one buyer, £1 million over time.
And that isn't even as sexy as coaching. So,
Well, exactly.
you know.
And that's an important message here.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, well, we're different. We're not that company, but this is about trust, and this trust goes through every single company, and it's trust is a part of the buyer's journey.
Absolutely.
And so it relates to whatever business, whatever size you are, B2C, B2B, whatever coaching you do. This is really, really important, because if I just touch on what Marcus, where this came from, his story was that he was the owner of a swimming pool company. And back in about 2007, this was a very successful company in the States. And his order books were full, a very successful company, until one day in 2008, the financial crisis hit. And overnight, their order book just totally disappeared. And he was staring like big difficulties in the face. And so what did he decide to do? He thought, right, he's a salesman at heart, and he wanted to help and reach out to his buyers, to his audience. So like never before, he sat down in his kitchen one night, thought, right, what are all the questions that I'm being asked through this buyer's journey by the people when I visit their house, when they come in front of me in meetings? And he wrote about 100 questions down, and then he answered every single question and this isn't like the equivalent nowadays where you wouldn't be just taking this information of ChatGPT. You're thoroughly answering these questions like your competitors are not, like other coaches are not. And that's what he did. And so from that really difficult place, then the company became the most popular, successful, top-selling swimming pool company across the whole world. And then they started not just supplying swimming pools, but manufacturing them as well. So one article for them over the years has brought in $35 million. And these aren't big companies. You know, small people like, let's say me, I don't have any employees. If you haven't got any employees out there, this can be really successful for you too. So it's whoever you are, it's a great framework.
And it's certainly been successful for Marcus because he now travels the world speaking on stages, doesn't he? So,
Yeah, he turned it into a book
yeah,
that just helps others and everyone can implement it. Yeah.
it's amazing. Now, you've been talking a lot about buyer behavior and the buyer journey. And I've been in business now for 6 years and have noticed differences in the way that buyers buy. So let's talk about some of the frustration in the buyer's journey and why this solution might help with that problem. It's what Bev said.
Yeah, exactly. It's important to get into the mind of people and what they're going through. So this addresses that main frustration. Firstly, there's a massive trust deficit. A lot of people have been burned out there. So just in my kind of sector, digital marketing, people are being burned by people like in Google Ads. There's companies out there where you've hired someone to help you with your Google advertising and it hasn't worked, or the relationship hasn't worked, or Google Ads hasn't worked. And they carry that baggage on with them throughout their kind of buying future, if you like. And in the coaching world, people have maybe had coaches before you and they've had issues with them maybe, and it hasn't worked potentially. And so when they come to look at you, that baggage has come with them and they don't want that buyer's remorse. They don't want to be making a mistake again. But that frustration comes from a place where they're looking on the internet for someone they can trust, but people aren't being transparent and radical. They're not providing this information to help them make an informed buying decision. And that's what all this is about. Buyers want, when I say buyers, just people buying from you, they want someone who's fighting their corner, someone who they can trust. And because there aren't a lot of people out there doing this is very simple. They ask, you answer. If you can answer it and meet them where they are, if you can become obsessed about your customer, your clients, and address those questions online, then it can be massively successful because there's that history that they're bringing to it. You've got the search engines, social media, they've changed the game. So it used to be that Google would bring loads of people to you if you were doing things like this. But nowadays, it's still a massive brand. Loads of people, Google, loads of people are using it. But over time, there's fewer clicks. So if someone searches for something related to what you do, nowadays Google provides a lot of that information on the search results pages. And then now we've got ChatGPT and AI. So there's a lot of education that's happening without them even getting to your website. But we can get to that in a minute, but that's important. So there's that connection with the buyer that is getting harder and harder for us to be there. So again, they ask you answer, it gives us an opportunity to connect, which will become a bit clearer in a minute. Buyers are more informed than ever and demand answers. And this is a really critical point, that there are B2B and B2C customer studies that have happened in the past 5-6 years that prove that 80% of the buyer's journey has actually taken place before you even know they exist. So before they reach out, 80% of the purchasing decision, if you like, has already taken place. Now, in the early days of the internet, like 25 years ago, you might have seen, it might have been word of mouth, or you might have seen an advert or something in Yellow Pages or in a magazine. And when we ask people this same question, how much of the buyer's journey do you think had taken place at that stage 25 years ago? A lot of people say like 20 to 40%. Nowadays, it's 80% because there's so much information at hand. Back then, a lot of your buying decision, it was the salesperson who would help you with that. Whereas nowadays that's flipped, and because there's so much information to hand, you're doing the research online. And is it marketing? Is it sales that has the biggest influence? Nowadays, it is your marketing influence. It's your marketing efforts that have the biggest influence on their buying decision, because literally, most of the purchasing decisions happen before they even reach out to you. And that's the whole point here. All these questions that they're asking you, that they would typically, traditionally ask you in like a sales meeting, sales conversation, we're bringing that forward to before they actually reach out to you, and we're putting this into a knowledge center section on the website. And yeah, so they're more frustrated than ever before. And if you just think about an example here, if you've made a big purchase on the internet over the last 12 months, and you go onto like a website and you're looking for the price, and a lot of us, it's kind of difficult to find the price. There's a lot of
Turns me right off there.
yeah, it's frustration. And Marcus Sheridan, he says like that's the F word of the internet, frustration, because you're looking for the price and no one's prepared to give it to you because they like to hold on to it until that sales conversation. But what that does, it turns people off. So this radical transparency bit is about those things you try and hold on to this kind of sales conversation. You're presenting that information early on, because a lot of your competitors, a lot of other coaches, they're not confident of doing that. But if you can do it, I'm not talking about putting a price list on your website. I'm talking about giving people context. So 80% of this article, this pricing article on your website, would be about what's going on in the industry, what makes some coaches more expensive, what makes some coaches less expensive, what would make your type of coaching more expensive, what would make it less expensive, and then what kind of range do you fit in, what kind of ballpark do you fit in, and that's the kind of 20% of the article is how you fit into that. And if you do it like that, when you do present them with a price in a proposal, then they've got more context. So when they're making a decision about your price, they've got more to base that decision on. And you might educate them in the proposal, but a lot of the time people go straight to the price and they might ignore a lot of the stuff in the proposal. But this way it educates them and they've got that context. So it's really powerful. And buyers just want control in that whole process, and they want to do, like more than ever before, they're doing things more themselves without needing a salesperson, without wanting a salesperson. And so this is big.
It was a real learning point for me when we started working together and building the Knowledge Centre, because this part around 80% of the article being unbiased and being about the industry and what's going on as opposed to what you offer, that was really new for me in terms of how I positioned myself as a coach. And so it took a lot of persuasion on Mark's part to get me to the place to understand that. And I guess it comes to this trusted voice that you talk about, and the trust deficit in the buyer journey.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're trying to move away a lot from this world of like ChatGPT. I see a lot of people who are doing content that are just copying it off ChatGPT and uploading it to the website. But with this passionate education for your clients, for your prospects, you're really trying to become obsessed with them, get inside their heads, making sure you're answering the right questions, which we'll get to in a minute, but doing so in a detailed way. So we're not talking about just a little bit of content on your website. These articles are like 1,500 words long, 1,500 words long, and in a unbiased, non-salesy, completely balanced way. And again, that's the mindset when you're doing this from let's say just that true place in your heart that really probably connects with you as a coach, where you're not influencing them. You're just prepared to address these subjects in a way that attracts more of the good fit customers or clients and puts off the bad fit ones. Because there's plenty of people out there that want to work with you. And if you do it in an unbiased way, it's really refreshing and it earns trust like never before. So, so buyers are frustrated. And then 4 pillars of a known and trusted brand. Say what others aren't willing to say. So that's what we just talked about then. So that's the transparency. And again, a lot of people are salesy. A lot of people can't help it but try and influence the people that are reading this content on the website. So that's what we're trying to break away from. Show what others aren't willing to show. And a lot of the time that's in video. Again, amazing. If you can start doing video, authentic video, real video of you in your business, and that's even possible in a coaching business. So with the permission, maybe there'll be ways to do it, but with the permission of clients, then just show them how you work show people out there how you work with clients. There'll be a way to do it somehow, but just approach it with an open mind and an open heart, and you can make progress there. Sell in other ways, in ways that others aren't willing to sell. So that name of the book, They Ask You Answer, that they ask part is not just the questions they ask, but thinking, where else is there friction? Where else is there friction in the buyer's journey? Where else could you be helping them on the website and on social media? And number 4, which is something that will probably really resonate with people out there, which is a place maybe people didn't think we'd get to after we had that AI video, but be more human than others in your space are willing to be, in your videos and in your articles. Just be more human. And this is such a massive opportunity for everyone here to stand out. Because like I said earlier, a lot of your competition, they're not human. They don't have these as many photos as you can of you on the website. They don't have photos of them. They don't have videos of them doing what they do. And if you do that, it's a great way to stand out. And importantly, trust, as we all know, is a crucial part of your coaching relationship. But if you can start that earlier in the buyer's journey, this is a fantastic way to build trust earlier on and continue it through to your relationship with them.
So we've had the F word and we've had the T word. And now we're going to move on to these big 5 topics that we talk about in the book.
Yeah.
But you, when we were working together, said we have to have these things on the website. So let's talk about them.
Yeah, I'll definitely, I reckon about 20 seconds I'll talk about that. But quickly before we get onto that, there's a myth that ostriches, if they face a problem, they'll bury their head in the sand, which is definitely a myth. But it's important that everything we're saying here, a lot of businesses out there, Marcus has been talking about this for years, they go back to the traditional way of selling and marketing that we all know that we should be doing. But this is the new way. The buyer behavior has changed. And if we bury our head in the sand, we're going to miss a huge opportunity here. So make sure you're not the ostrich. Make sure you're not doing ostrich marketing. Make sure you're not trying to stay in the past, because the world is changing fast and we're already way into this 80% of the buyer's journey place. But as you say, Angela, big 5 topic. This is huge. This is huge. Big 5. You hear a lot about this through Marcus. So these are the 5 topics that move the sales needle the most. And when you're creating content on your website, articles, videos, and also putting this onto social media as well, this is what can truly resonate with buyers, because these are the types of subjects that they're looking for someone to be in their corner and answering them. Cost and pricing at the top, which is what I've touched on already. You might come up with some examples yourself. So these are just general examples that I've come up with. What does a leadership coach cost, and is it worth it? So if you can do that in a completely open and honest, transparent way, like we said before, then that is really huge, because a lot of companies don't like talking about it on their website. So immediately you can stand out. So lean in, open heart, open mind, lean into that place. And problems, issues, and concerns, again, there's a lot going through in buyers' minds. They don't want to make a mistake. They don't want buyer's remorse. They don't want to go with a coach where they might be making a mistake. They really just want to, there's a lot going inside their head. And if you're the person answering these questions, undoubtedly that builds trust. And really, to begin with, if you're going to invest most of your time in those first 2 categories, those first 2 topics, that would be a great place to start. And then we've got versus and comparison articles. For example, group coaching versus one-to-one coaching, which gets better results. That could be one, but there's loads of different options there. Reviews, like what are other people saying about you? Who is and who isn't a good fit? What's the universe saying about what you do or the type of coaching you do? Best in class is number 5. And this is where I like to stretch people. This is where I like to stretch people with this kind of getting uncomfortable. When I say radically transparent, who are the best executive coaches in, who knows, Birmingham or Warwickshire, or there's a number of different examples. And then you would feel very uncomfortable about putting others maybe on your website. But this is about being part of the conversation. So everything here is being part of the conversation. And if you're not part of the conversation, then you're gonna, well, you're not gonna be a part of the conversation. So if you don't put things like this on your website, Google's not going to learn about you. AI isn't going to learn about you. And when it comes to someone asking, well, who are the best, let's say, executive coaches in London, there's less chance of you showing up.
So this would be like, we've got, say, 7 executive coaches in our finalist lineup tonight. You would be putting all of your peers who are finalists alongside you on your website and talking about what they offer. And I guess from a coaching perspective, when we look at it, we attract the clients that are right for us. So we're not in competition with anybody else. And therefore, talking about other people who are doing well in the marketplace is a really good thing to do. But it does take the mindset shift, because when you first said that, I was like, well, why would I do that?
Yeah. And an important point is you get your credibility across at the top of the article. So before you present the others, why should people listen to you? So that's a real great point, where suddenly they've come to your website because, let's say, they're searching on Google for the top 5 coaches. And once they're there, then you are showing why they should listen to you. And yeah, they might go off. Just remember, it's an easy backklick for people to just go and find out this information out themselves. So you might as well just be a part of the conversation, and they can learn from you. You've got the credibility there. Not everyone's going to get in touch with you, but they're learning. And so this kind of, I like this because it pushes people to the most uncomfortable place with it.
And then they're on your website as
Yeah,
well, right?
yeah.
So
Yeah, exactly. So this whole knowledge center, this section of your website I build for people, and this Big 5 content that we've talked about, this all is collated in a really easy to access place on the website. This is about training Google, training AI, that your brand, getting your brand mentioned alongside what type of coach you are, so that when someone does ask ChatGPT or Google about the best kind of coaches and what you do, you're more likely to be presented to people searching. And so they'll take that next step to find out who you are and whether they should go with you. But firstly, use this as a sales tool. Use this in the sales process. Get your head around that to begin with, where when you're having conversations with people, you are basically saying, okay, if there are some objections that they're not quite comfortable with, saying, well, I've got an article on my website I've written, you email it to them after the conversation. And instead of them searching on Google or ChatGPT, you're keeping a hold of that conversation, and they can learn from you. And then it can help you on your website. So convert more visitors to your website, convert more of them to prospects or leads. And then also training, like I said, ChatGPT and Google to attract more traffic to your website. But the key thing, the difference between this and a blog, these questions are really far down towards them making a decision, so that if you do attract this traffic, it's really high quality traffic, and it's easy to convert them on your website.
we're definitely finding that. So the leads that are coming through are much more qualified because they've been educated through the articles, and therefore it makes the conversation just about when do we start, as opposed to needing to take the client on that journey. So for me, it's been transformational, and I think we need to have a look at it, don't we?
Yeah, definitely. I'll just put
Let's
out
have
there.
a look.
There we go. So, yeah. Do you want to say a bit about what was in your mind about getting this on your website?
Well, I'm a bit of a nightmare when it comes to selling, because I don't believe that we sell coaching. I believe that we attract clients. So when I was working with Mark, I was really clear about what it was going to be and what it wasn't going to be. And then Mark brought his expertise into the fore. So you can see there at the top, we've got all of our clients in different settings. They're our clients, they're not stock photos. And as we go through other examples, you'll see that as well. But we spend a lot of time, Mark and I, actually deciding what the questions were going to be that we would answer. And that's based on 6 years of understanding the key questions that my clients do say, and the ones that I answer most often.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And remember, this is all about making it easy for people to get to this information once they come to your knowledge center. So there's this search box so they can quickly navigate to these articles. And then to begin with, the main knowledge center is further on down this front page where you've got a grid of posts and articles. But this bit is where most ask questions. You can signpost people to those places, those questions that you know are most important to buyers. So it just makes it easier to get to the really important questions first, which is what we did there. And then we've got this little section next, trusted by leaders and coaches. So with Angela's example, led by award-winning master coach, backed by neuroscience, 2024 Newcoming Training Provider of the Year, and multi-credited by leading bodies. So it gives you a chance to establish yourself and you establish your credibility. And then just a bit further down the page, that's where all these posts start appearing in a grid. So down the left-hand side, you've got a filter, which allows people to just show the content that's relevant to them, which is a crucial part. And quite an important element a lot of people miss out is that these questions, these titles of these articles are first person, so in the voice of the buyer, so that the buyer can really resonate and see it. It stands out on the page as opposed to a blog post, which you might have seen in the past, which can be quite boring and don't really resonate. So that's the first part, is where that jumps out at them. And even if someone visits your website, even if you've had one conversation with a prospect or a lead, or you've spoken at an event, just them coming to your website and seeing this collection of authoritative content is potentially enough to build a lot of trust even before they read the articles themselves. And then you've got category pages as well, so you can link to a specific category if that's more useful to a specific prospect. Then if you click on one of those, you will get to one of the articles. And like we said, you've got a video. You don't have to have a video. So keep things simple. You could be starting this tomorrow and just getting this content and writing this content and putting it on your website, because a lot of this is just getting into the habit of writing high quality content. But this video at the top really helps summarize the content as we talked about before. And then below it, you've got this article that goes into depth and make it human. Again, introduce stories into this, because again, we're in an age of AI where the amount of content that is getting created is unbelievable. And at the moment, a lot of it is low quality and it's not doing anyone any good. It's better than no content at all, but try not to lean into that part of it. Really, this emotion inside you where you're passionately educating people, lean into that. Introduce stories about from your personal experience and your business and coaching experience. Get them in there as well, and just make sure it kind of comes across in an authentic, conversational way that again stands you out.
And it's been interesting because I buy just like that. When I'm making a decision, I wouldn't read a blog post for 1,500 words. Absolutely never. And so I was thinking, well, why do I want blog posts of 1,500 words on my website? Because I wouldn't read it. But not everybody buys like me. And what the clients are saying who are coming through this process is that this really helped them to understand what we were about before they had to have the conversation. So it makes that conversation step so much easier. And I guess that's a key learning point, is don't imagine that everybody buys like you do, because they don't.
Yeah. And with Marcus's example, they've got CRMs, customer relationship management systems in place that also track how many articles buyers read on the website before they become a customer. And he looked into it and it was like 20, 25 articles, some of them. There's a lot happening on your website if you do this kind of stuff that you don't even know is going on, this world that you might not be tracking. And the trust, people are just, I mean, in his voice, he says a phrase, vetting businesses to death, and you don't know about it. You don't know it. And so just believe in it. If you put this content up, then people are going to come, and it's going to earn trust like never before.
And I guess with AI changing everything at the moment, we need to be thinking differently about how we attract our clients.
Yeah.
And the more human we can be about that, the better.
Yeah, and this is you control your website. You do not control social media and those places. So, for example, let's pretend you built your whole business on TikTok, and then in the US, suddenly they take away TikTok, which, in my opinion, they'll probably bring it back soon, because money talks and everything. But yeah, you're in control of your website, so you've got all this content on there, but you're also, so that's your master place for all this content, but you're also putting this content out on social media. Maybe not these whole articles, but just this kind of content on social media as well. And that's an important part of this message. Is with Marcus's new book, he's really focusing on They Ask You Answer, but your personal brand, building your own personal brand on the internet. So on your website and on YouTube, LinkedIn, wherever your prospects hang out, building a brand and making sure you're there, because again, that's training ChatGPT and AI and Google to know that your brand is associated with being, for example, an executive coach. But yeah, we live in crazy times where AI and trust, what is trust? We don't necessarily know what trust is nowadays. So we have to really lean into it, because there are going to be coaches. There are going to be coaches in the industry in the UK who are doing things like this. And I don't mean to be panicking you. This is an amazing, authentic way to market and sell. But there are going to be people who are leaning into all this stuff and proving to Google and the search engines and ChatGPT that they are this brand. They are this brand that's impossible for humans and AI to ignore. And that's where we want to be. And if you can get to that place, then you really can stand out in front of your competitors and really resonate with your clients and earn trust like never before, and continue that through your buyer's journey, your coaching relationship, which is an exciting place to be, because it does lead to happier clients, and the selling is easier.
So, final thought then, we've got Val right in my eye line. Val is a charity coach. If Val wanted to go away and implement a knowledge center tomorrow, she could go on my website. She could take the article, put the article into ChatGPT and say, follow this structure and help me write an article on X, and then you could work with it. But I'm sure there's a better way to do it than that.
Yeah. Well, first up, if you can, I would seriously recommend purchasing They Ask You Answer. Don't procrastinate. Don't wait for the new book to be coming out later this year, which is called Endless Customers. But buy that. But yeah, get into this habit of writing content, because that's where you need to be. AI is going to be an amazing tool for you, but you really need to take it a level up from AI, which is what I do for customers as well, my clients. So I go through a big process with understanding my clients and what they're all about. And we go through a lot of research, and the articles that I create for clients are really high level. And you can do that too on your own, or I can help you. That's fine as well. But yeah, just get into all this truly authentic, the radical transparency, this completely passionate way of educating this buyer who you are obsessed with. And it's possible, but just put yourself in their mind and amazing things can happen. But make sure this comes across in your writing. And then if you can do this, don't just put it on your blog, because blogs are quite chronological. After a month or a week or two, the article disappears off the bottom, and it's just not a great way to present your content and make it easy for people to find. If you've got a web designer, some company that can help you do that, then that's great, and that's really good. There are some plugins as well, a bit technical, but in the world, if your website's on WordPress, for example, there are things out there can help you to a point. But the way I do it, again, for my clients, is in a way that, as you saw, is with Angela's example, is a way that really does a good job. And in my opinion, is much better than what's out there, but it is a way that grows with your business and aligns with everything that we do and what you can do with They Ask You Answer. And then, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, and you can email me as well. Not really.
You've not retired, so
No,
it's some more work.
no, exactly. I've not I have not retired. I hopefully have a long while ahead of me. But yeah, I send out a newsletter as well to people. So an email newsletter. If you want that, just send just simply the word yes to my email address, mark@knowledgecenterguy.uk. mark@knowledgecenterguy.uk. That would be a
You
great
need
place
to learn how
start.
to say that, don't you?
Yeah, I do. And it'd be even easier to read it if it wasn't underlined as well. But that's a great place to start. We can keep in touch, and then feel free to email me at that address as well. I won't say it again. I won't be able to say it. mark@knowledgecenterguy.uk. Oh, I did it. Amazing. And search for me on LinkedIn, Mark Reynolds, and then that's my face. That's probably the best way to search on LinkedIn.
It's a great face.
Yeah.
You're a great
Oh.
guy. Yeah, I mean, I've worked with you now over the last 12 months. There is nobody that I would trust more to have in my business than Mark. He's just an incredible partner. He's got an amazing story that we've not shared today either. Maybe you can ask him about that in the break. But if you really want to start connecting with your clients from here, this is a really nice step to take. So buy the book, talk to Mark, and start writing authentic, genuine, heart-led content.
Definitely. Thank you, Angela.
Marvelous.
Pleasure.